Me and you?
Yeah.
That's it? Hi, everyone. I'm Steve Aoki. With a nice tan. I just got back from Hawaii. Thank you for joining me on stage here at Social Innovation Summit. I don't know if you know this, but you're a Grammy-nominated DJ, entrepreneur, investor. And here at SIS, I think it's also notable to mention that you're a very active philanthropist. And you support organizations with brain science and research areas through the Aoki Foundation. So let's start there, big and broad. What made you start the Aoki Foundation, and what's its sole purpose?
Aoki Foundation is all about the brain. And the reason why I wanted to focus on the brain is that this is what makes us human, makes us intelligent species. Is if we can understand the mysteries of the brain, if we can unlock them, we could do the supernatural. We could become the superheroes that we imagine, you know, what we see in sci-fi and all these films. And we could figure out, you know, how to live forever. We can extend.
Do you want to live forever, Steve Aoki?
I do.
You
yes,
do?
I do. You know why?
Tell me why.
Because I love life.
I don't.
I love living.
Okay.
Like the fact that we're alive, I'm just grateful that I exist, because it'd suck to not exist.
Right.
You know, it's just
Okay.
like.
But you want to exist in
I-
this real world, not the metaverse. You
No,
wanna live in
our digital
Okay.
imprint, that's a whole different conversation.
Of course.
Because it actually is a big part of who we are. You know, I mean, if someone was like, okay, I'm just gonna erase your YouTube. I don't know if you have YouTube.
I don't have a YouTube, so don't look for
I'm
YouTube.
gonna erase your
My
Instagram,
TikTok.
your TikTok.
Instagram, yeah.
And you have to just live on the planet. You might go crazy.
Yes.
Most people don't care. I mean, there's some people that don't care about that, but a lot of us, that digital life is important to our identity, or how we are to everybody else. But I like to take it, you know, like you go far, right, to live forever, but I like to go like, how can we extend it from our expectancy of 80 to 100?
Okay.
And eventually we can get to the point where we can do science fiction stuff like live forever, or upload our consciousness to, you know, human sleeve or something, you know, like all these crazy things that we imagine. But yeah, I mean, in order to get there, you need to have the science and technology.
Right.
You need to invest in companies, in organizations, in people, in researchers and scientists that are really doing that real work. And then going back to the foundation, I have a platform. You know, I have a lot of eyeballs on my music, on what I do. So the people that are actually interested in longevity, interested in the same passion points that I'm interested in, they can join me in this journey. Because it's interesting. I talk to a lot of scientists and researchers that we actually help fundraise, or we gain awareness for. And a lot of the conversations are in these small science circles that they have a hard time bridging to pop culture. You know, because these conversations are very like highbrow, sciencey, journal-y conversations.
Yeah.
And I'm just going like, well, how do we build the bridge? How do we extend that? Not just the awareness, but like the money, and like, you know, focusing on some really interesting research that we're actually been funding in the last year. But it's exciting. It's actually pretty exciting. Actually, it's not just about, it sometimes gets a little like, people think it's like, it can be boring to get into the science, the details of all that stuff. But when you see the results and you see what we're trying to aim for, it's a really fascinating world.
But what led you to go into philanthropy to begin with? Like you said, hey, I'm Steve Aoki, I want to give back. But tell us the impetus.
I mean, okay, so the very beginning is, you know, I do all these shows, and I'm trying to think of another way to engage my audience.
Yeah.
Because I'm always, you know, I'm playing in front of shows, in front of people all the time. I'm like, how do I engage them to something just than the party? So the first step into the foundation was taking $1 from every ticket sold and telling the fans. In the beginning, it was like, hey, $1 from every ticket sold is going to go to this, we're going to fundraise this, and then actually I want you all to pick where we're going to put that money towards. So it's like a party with a purpose theme.
Right.
And to do more with just the parties that I'm playing, the shows that I'm playing. And then I'm like, you know what, I want to focus entirely on the brain. because I really feel like that's the key to longevity. That's the key to what we can do with I'm talking about
that's the power
science
source,
fiction
so,
to
yes.
science fact kind of conversation.
Yeah.
Because I love that. Like you have the science fiction world of imagination, what we imagine, what we want to become. There are certain things that can actually become fact. And they're the people they're the edgier people. They're like, I'm willing to do the research, but I need to build a team. I need to get exposure. I'm like, I want to fund you.
Right.
Because a lot of those people, in some cases, are not attached to bigger pharmaceutical companies or not attached to big money. So I'm like, at least let me help you do something that's really engaging. And the story itself is pretty interesting. You just need to be able to conversate that to people.
Right. So let's dive a little bit deeper with the Aoki Foundation. Tell us about the Quantum Endowment Fund.
So the Quantum Endowment Fund is it's an endowment. So
Okay.
it's just so that we can exist. It's a fund where we invest all the money into for-profit organizations or companies that are doing, research on the brain or longevity that like myself and the advisors on Aoki Foundation believe in. So like Peter Diamandis is an advisor.
Wow.
David Sinclair, who's one of the leading scientists in longevity right now, he's also an advisor. Okay. So whoever's joining that endowment fund get to sit on the board with us. We get to just chop up like, okay, these orgs are doing some really cool stuff. These companies doing some really interesting things. And I'm really looking for, honestly, like high risk.
Yeah.
Because this is about doing new research. I want to really put money into the companies that are doing something that's really pushing us forward, that's like highly innovative. And that's all the money goes right back to the foundation. So it's more about like, let's just help those people out. And the people that have involved also feel that same way. So we have a good advisory board that really does the research, does the due diligence, and are already involved in a lot of these companies. So I feel pretty strong with the advisory board right now, and the people that are jumping in, it's got that same vision.
And this conference is all about innovation and impact, obviously, and it's safe to say that you're an innovator in all your ventures. One area that you've sort of been on the forefront has been Web3. So what led you down this path of saying like, hey, I am very interested in Web3? Because obviously Web3, with your fund, you can do a lot of things with fund, with the foundation and Web3. But what about your Web3 journey? Let's start with that first, and how you sort of found Web3, or how did Web3 find you?
Web3 is another word for our digital identity. Yeah. It's our digital footprint. Mm-hmm. So the digital side of me is a very large part of my brand and the way I communicate to people. So it's like anyone that believes that that's a way to actually engage with their customers or engage with their fan base, they're already a believer in Web3, because we're already, by all definition, we're inevitably going to become more integrated with more of our digital imprint. Whether you don't want to or not, the rest of the world's already moving in that direction. So now, what Web3 is like what the foundation Web3, the blockchain technology, is what's exciting, because it's all traceable. It's all transparent. Everything that you do with the smart contracts in the blockchain, you can see where it comes from. It's open to the world. It allows for more, just like it's like less phoniness going on. It's like easier to see and track everything. Yeah, it's all there.
Yes.
So especially for like philanthropy, you could see it's like like with Ukraine, they were raising money. Here's a wallet. Right. Just put money into the wallet. It goes right to Ukraine instead of an organization you don't know if like 80% is going to admin or whatnot. And of course in some of those orgs you want to help them because they're doing great on like exposure, right? But if you want to help the actual efforts, I'd say that is the less clunkier, the more transparent ways to do that. And now that's like with this kind of fundamental, I think that it's going to become in a few years what I think a lot of us will want in all of our businesses. So it's just a matter of like we see it's happening with a smaller kind of forward-thinking group of people, but then that eventually will become scaled, just like everything in technology. It always starts with like a small group of people beta testing, and then when it works, when the ideology makes sense, and you can actually scale it with more companies and more of an ecosystem in there, it's going to scale, and then all of a sudden, everyone will want this kind of fundamental structure, and it won't even be called Web3. It'll just be called life. It's just the way we do business. So,
right.
You know, and like, you know, there's a lot of other things I'm involved in Web3 with the collectible side of things, but I think the blockchain technology underneath all of what Web3 is all about is going to be that's going to be a big change when that happens across, you know, normal culture.
Yep. Another area of innovation in your work, we touched upon it a little bit, is about how to help individuals live longer, healthier lives. And can you talk to us about your perspectives of biohacking and that?
Yeah, I'm definitely like a road tester for sure. So I like to test on myself, you know, and like because I'm very lucky that I have so much access to scientists. It's also like, you know, being involved in the foundation. I'm the first one to like do a Zoom with some of these scientists and researchers, and I'm like, yo, let me try this out. Let me see how this works on me. And I like to test things out, like all the different supplements I take, you know, different like kind of systems that I do on a daily basis. But you know, I love trying things out. Like I've actually, it's, you know, it's a little excessive, but I have 4 cold plunges in my house.
Okay.
Because here's the thing. Okay, in respect to the cold plunge, it's not just about me doing it. I love onboarding people.
So you want people to do it with you.
That's my favorite. Right? I'll give you a story. Okay, so Thanksgiving, people come, like I had like my family and friends coming to my house. There's like 30 of them.
Yeah.
And this is already like 8 p.m. It's Thanksgiving, so it's November, right? So it's in Vegas. It's cold.
Cold.
It's probably, I don't know, whatever, 50 degrees outside, and it's windy and like I think raining or something. And then we finished dinner, and I'm like, all right, guys, everyone here that's sitting down, still in my house, you're like locked here, you can't leave. We're all gonna do a cold plunge. And they had no idea.
No warning.
Yeah, I was
no
like,
warning.
no, but I did a pep talk.
Okay.
I do a whole pep talk. I'm like, this is how we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it together, you know, like it's the spirit. And everyone went in the cold plunge. And it was cold outside, and it's 38 degrees. I had a 75-year-old man in there with me with you know, my niece is 12.
Yeah.
From ages 12 to 75, and they're all like, all right, let's go. And then like
they're gung-ho.
Half of them, after they did the cold plunge for 5 minutes, were like, I want to do this again. This makes me feel alive. You know, I love that feeling of putting people through
I don't know if
discomfort,
any of you,
and then, you know.
I don't know how many of you have done the cold plunge, but 1 minute feels like forever. 2 minutes feels like forever times 2.
2 minutes actually. Okay, no, it's not times 2.
No, it
no,
felt like it to me.
It's no, but like
that's my experience.
You know why? Because you're resisting.
Mine.
You're resisting. You cannot resist. It's about acceptance and surrender. You have to like accept it. If you're like, fuck this, like if you do this kind of shit, like you'll not get through it. So I'm gonna have to teach you how to do this.
He's explaining me, guys. He's Aoki explaining me. FYI.
We're gonna do this together. Trust me, we'll do it together. And
yes.
At 2 minutes, it should be warm.
Okay. Truth be told, I did it for 5 minutes. Okay.
Oh, that's good.
And I did it
really
at Remedy Place, which is a place on Sunset, whatever. And the girl, I don't know if she's just trying to like love bomb me and go like, oh my God, no one does it for 5 minutes. But she said that no one does it for 5 minutes.
No.
They said 3 minutes is what people's threshold is.
I think that's what they do because they're afraid to get sued.
Maybe you're right.
Because like everyone gets sued for stupid shit these days. You can't do anything like too uncomfortable. Like no one sued me in my house. You know, those are my friends. Don't sue me. Like please. But
I got into a car accident last time, remember?
Yeah, so. But I think you have to like. There's a lot of different things like the science of like shivering and like there's all these things that. When you shiver, you get, I don't want to get too deep into the weeds of this one, but when you shiver, these proteins excrete from your liver, that's like the real recovery cells going through your body. And like you don't start shivering until like 3 minutes.
Until 3 minutes.
So like when you're getting out, you're like losing that moment where your cells are like being pushed out in your body.
when people are cold plunging at your house, are you forcing them to listen to your music? I'm just asking because it would make me feel like it was a
You know,
trinity.
that's a great idea. I haven't done that yet.
Just curious.
I mean, the whole brainwashing thing, I'm gonna be
Right.
like interested. Like, they'll like have to like
So
my music.
no music, and you're just like pumping each other up, like you can do it.
Well, there's
30 more
it's
seconds.
outside. There's no
Okay,
like
so there's
speaker
no
set up
music.
outside. So
Okay.
yeah, I put a little speaker out there,
Okay.
and But usually I'm just like either talk it through,
Right.
or like try to find that meditative kind of zone.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, biohacking is fun. It's like another passion point to test these new technologies, see what works.
Yeah.
But it's always it's like diagnostic checks, just like anything. You have to always check.
Right.
Like I always do a systems check, blood work analysis, even like neurofeedback or some sort of like understanding what my baseline is for my brain and my
Yeah.
body, my organs, whatever information I can get,
Right.
and then test something out. Like I'm
Right.
doing hyperbaric chamber for 40 hours, and then checking my brain again, doing a SPECT scan again, and then seeing if my brain has changed a little bit from
Right.
from that. But then there's also all these other stacks of biohacking systems I'm adding on top. And because I travel a lot, the two areas of deficiency that I'm getting through traveling and through playing so much and my circadian rhythm being just completely out of whack is sleep, is to get like a good amount of REM.
How many hours is good for you?
I mean, now I'm home,
Yeah.
so I get like a 6 to 8 hour. But I don't.
Wow.
If I see my Whoop data, then I can see that I'm like getting a good amount of REM and deep, which is what I care about. But when I'm like I'm flying to Frankfurt on Friday, then Montreal, then back to Wet Republic, Vegas on Sunday.
Wow.
By the time I get home on Sunday, my HRV scores are going to be shot, and it's going to take me a few days to go back to sleep. So then this is the time to see how do I force quit my system and do my best to biohack
Right.
to the regular. Because if I lived a regular life where I'm just in one time zone, I'm pretty good. So I think once I figure out this whole systems on traveling and being able to flip so many time zones, then I could help a lot of other traveling people like
Yeah.
myself, especially pilots or people that fly all the time, on how to get like a healthy amount of REM, deep
REM.
HRV score up,
Yeah.
so that your heart health is strong, your brain health is strong, mitochondrial health is strong, and that way you don't get dementia later on, you don't get Alzheimer's or any degenerative brain diseases.
And obviously, you guys, it's worked. Steve doesn't look his age, right? He really biohacked his way. And me, I eat McDonald's every week, and people think I'm young, but I'm really much older than Steve. So who's really biohacking here? McDonald's, I don't do cold plunge, but I do run 3 times a week.
It's fun
That's
though.
enough.
It's like not just about the results, but it's just fun to be able to see where you're at, how you could, progress and like learn from it and then share it with people that you know.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. So we have a room full of executive NGO and nonprofit leaders, philanthropists, CSR and sustainability professionals, and social entrepreneurs, many of them working around the world across multiple countries with a global impact. What have you seen or experienced in your work that have helped guide a global career?
I mean, now everything we do is global. So whatever business we do, whatever like service we provide, it has a global reach by the nature of social media and by the nature of our digital selves.
Yeah.
I realize it the most when I play at these festivals. When you look at the crowd, you see the world in front of you. Like Tomorrowland in Europe, that's the festival where you see all the flags come up.
Right.
You're like, oh my God, the whole world is here.
Exactly.
And it makes you want to connect to cultures
Exactly.
that are not familiar with yours. Like, I'm like, I want to know more about these different countries and
Exactly.
these different sounds. And as a producer, that's a great way for me to go, oh, there's a genre that I don't know about. Like if I'm in South Africa and I'm learning about like what's happening with Afrobeat or what's happening with Amapiano, like I want to learn about that culture. I want to like get in the studio with some of the producers. So that's where it's exciting for me as an artist, that I can get to be able to travel the world. I get this freedom to be able to be exposed by so much. And the one lesson I could share from that is that what I realized is that whenever you're unfamiliar with something, when you're young, when you dislike something, it's generally because you're unfamiliar with it.
Because you don't know what it is.
You're like, oh, I don't like this kind of music because
it's a fear.
You just don't know the music. So you're like, I don't like it.
Yeah.
So now what I do, or like since I became, heavy into production, if I'm unfamiliar with it, then I'm like, I want to learn it. And I think that's one takeaway that I've learned that I share with like all kinds of people. Like if someone's like, oh, I don't like this music, I'm like, that's because you don't know that music, or you don't know the culture, or you don't know the food, or whatever it is.
Yep.
You need to actually put yourself in that environment and just be free to learn from it. And then you yourself grow far deeper as a human and then as a creative. So that's why I collaborate with K-pop artists or Latin artists or country artists or hip hop or rock. It's like I love being able to try different worlds, especially if I'm not familiar with it. I think that's what's exciting.
Yeah. So, piece of advice to all the people here on how to make a global impact?
I just said it.
That's it? Nothing else?
Just do things that makes you uncomfortable.
Do something that you wouldn't want to do usually, right?
I think it's like that's like the name of the game, right? Is you learn when you're uncomfortable. You have to always put yourself in that space.
Yeah.
And then always be a student. Always be a sponge to learn. Like we're never, even if I have all these awards, whatever it is, doesn't mean that I'm better or that I'm more knowledgeable. I'm always open-minded to think that there's so much more that'll make you a better or deeper creative or whatever you're doing. So being a student is, I think, a big thing that keeps me always excited about life, always intrigued and curious.
Yeah. I know we're out of time, but I just have one last question, probably the most profound one I've asked you all day. Steve Aoki, are you getting the Apple Vision Pro?
Okay, so
serious question. I just want to know.
Yeah. Okay. This is
about technology.
This is right up my alley,
Web3.
by the way. This is perfectly in my zone. So finally, there is some tech that is actually usable because VR has been around for a while. Oculus has been around for a while. Obviously, Zuckerberg spent so much money on that, on trying to make it more popular, and it just didn't work.
Oculus did not.
So finally, there's something where this is the first real step. I really feel like this is something that, because I tried it all. Every time there's new tech, I'm like the first one to be like, let me try it. Let me see how it feels.
But you haven't tried this yet, right?
No, but I see the video and it's just like the person's doing this with the hand.
It's like made for you.
It's
literally made for you.
It's literally like that movie with Tom Cruise.
Yes.
He's all like,
swiping.
Yeah. It's like basically that's the movie, but if it looks like it is on the video, this is the next step for that, for sure.
Awesome. So it's a resounding yes.
100%.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Everyone, thanks to Steve Aoki for joining me. Thank you guys for being such a great audience.